Self-feeder, feeding her morning and night?
Yeah.
Hand
Morning
feeding?
and night, yeah.
Okay. Is she going on from here? County Fair, her last show?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's your barrel weigh? What is your barrel? 304. Done well then. Where'd you get him at?
I got him from St. Kansas.
Okay. Duns?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you feeding him?
I feed him 60% Belgian feed that I get from the co-op.
Okay. And this is at 304, he's pretty much done.
Yeah.
So what do you like best about your barrel?
You mean the way he looks or the way, yeah, the way he
Weight looks.
I think his hindsight's way better. I think it was really developed.
Okay.
He's got a nice mold to it.
In terms of muscle? Okay. All right. What's your gilt weigh?
225.
And what are you feeding her? Okay. Having to work with her in terms of exercise or walking them?
Yeah. We have this little pin out back.
And this is her last show?
Yeah.
We're going on. Okay. What do you like best about her?
I think it's just like the way like that his butt, the back side of his butt, how it sticks out sideways.
So it's a muscle thing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, tell me about your gilt. What breed?
Bear.
What's that?
Bear.
Okay, what breed is she?
Durham.
Okay, what are you feeding her?
Here's like the second co-op and supplement. We also give them like leftovers and stuff.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right, how are you this morning? And what do you have, barrel or gilt? There you go. Okay, what's the weight? Okay, is he going on? Is he going on from here? Can I show you further? Okay, and so where do you think his end point is? Where do you want to get him at in terms of final weight? Okay, so needs just a little more time. How old is he? Okay. How are you doing this morning? I'm doing all right. Barrel or gilt?
Guilt.
Okay.
No, that's a barrel. Sorry.
That's a barrel. There you
Sorry.
go. All right. What's your barrel weigh?
260.
Where'd you get him at?
We got him from Sawyer Farms.
Okay. And what do you like best about your barrel,
I mean,
phenotypically?
he's just right now. He's just really friendly and easy to get along with, and big butt. I like that about him.
Muscle. Okay. All right. All right. Barrel or gilt? What breed? Predominantly. So it's you, Razor? Okay. Not you don't have the gilt. Okay. What's she weigh? Market or breeding? Market. Okay. All right. What are you feeding her? Okay. How are you doing this morning? Okay. What's your barrel weigh? What breed predominantly? Okay. Phenotypically, what do you like best about him? Or what would you like to, better yet, what would you like to change?
I wish he had a little more confidence to his shoulders and his hands.
Okay. All right. How are you doing this morning?
Pretty good. How are you?
What breed?
York Long
Got some York in her, huh? Did you raise her?
No, bought it from neighbor.
Okay. All right. Yeah. What's she weigh? Breeding or market? Market hog. What are you feeding her? Okay. What would you, if you could, what do you like best about her phenotypically? Okay? All right? Okay. Okay. Can you pick? Is this on all the time, or do I turn it on or turn it off? I don't know.
Oh, I'm excited to hear that.
Okay. He did a sound check. All right. See if I can not blare everybody out or get a squeal. So, good morning, and I guess I get to be the welcome to the Kiowa County Fair in terms of the Hog Show getting kicked off first thing this morning. We're starting with the morning with senior showmanship, and 9 kids out here, which is refreshing in the fact that we're not sorting senior showmanship with 2 or 3. I enjoy being actually able to have a ring full one of the first things I did this morning, since we don't actually have little pins to use, is we pulled a couple panels over here, and I told our ringmen that, you know, we might not pin all of them since there's 9 of them, but the ones that I consider to be on the top end, I'm going to pin, and we're going to see how they actually do. I apologize a little bit, kind of, for taking some extra time out here, but one of the things that I use to actually help sort senior showmen is simply time. You get out here, you get the pigs a little warmed up, you get the kids a little warmed up. We're going to see who actually spent some time at the home working pigs, running pigs, walking pigs, and who's got the endurance to outlast the competition. And that's one of the things that a pig that gets hot and starts fighting pretty quick is one that probably didn't spend a lot of time walking at home. So we've done that. I tend to want to walk, and I probably get myself in trouble doing that. In this class of seniors, the young man that rises to the top for me came to the top pretty quick. I caught him coming straight out the gate. He's kept his pig in the middle of the ring. He's kept the intensity up, keeps the pig between himself and me being the judge. But most importantly, and it's the one thing that I can tell you who's got it and who doesn't, but it's hard to coach, is intensity. And it's something I spend a lot of time with on my kids working at home, is you got to be intense. When you're showing a goat, a lamb, a steer, you're going to be working the halter, you're going to be working the show stick, you're going to be getting the feet set. When you're sitting here with the pigs, can we turn that down some? So when you're working the pigs, you don't get that opportunity. You actually have to show the intensity. The other thing that we talk about is drive your pig. Okay, so when you're out here, I don't want you to be following the pig. I want you to actually drive the pig to a point, from point A to point B. And in most of the cases, that's going to be keeping that pig about 10, 12 feet off of me, keeping him in an arc, keeping him moving back and forth. The young man in the purple shirt out here in the middle with the predominantly York pig is going to be our class winner today. He's the one that's getting that done, the best of his abilities, and to what I consider to be the best one out here. So congratulations to him. From there, for a reserve, for me it tightens up considerably. I had these 2 young ladies both pinning their pigs. I'm going to be very critical of 2 young ladies that are doing a nice job. First and foremost, they are smiling and they're out here, and whether they enjoy it or not, to me it looks like they are. Words of wisdom for the rest of you and the juniors coming out here. I know it's hard to get kids to smile when you're showing a pig, but it makes it look all the more enjoyable when they do it. But for those 2 young ladies, I don't know who's taught you to put your hand behind your back, but anybody that's moved pigs, handled pigs, or done anything with pigs knows that it takes 2 hands, a brush, and every other tool you've got. I, again, can be very critical. It's taken me 8 years to try and get the kids in my own county to quit putting their hands behind their back, but the last girl that did it, I said, if you put your hand behind your back when you're showing a pig, I'm going to rip that arm off and beat you with it. Okay? So, you have a free hand, use your hand. I don't want to see you using knees, and I know it takes sometimes more than whip, but use your brush, use your rag. Just don't tuck that hand behind your back. Have it out, use it, be intense. There again, thank you for smiling. Enjoy you 2 being out here. Everybody that I had wanted to have pin their pigs did. And while it took a couple extra swipes at it or extra times at it, we got it done. Our reserve today is going to be the young lady in the middle. Our top blue is going to be the young lady in the navy blue shirt. Congratulations. Good job. You bet. Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. Well, I mean, you need a record of it, but I can do it, or we can talk, or I can do it here, and I can say. Got one more? There it is. And if you guys have a watering can that you want to bring out here, you're not going to bother me a bit. So hose, watering can, as long as we don't water them right in front of the gate so that they don't want to go back to the gate, but if the guys want to water, that's fine. How are you this morning? You have a barrow or a gilt?
Yeah.
What's he weigh?
315 pounds.
Okay, what breed?
Yorkshire.
And what are you feeding?
We used to feed him the cold water feed, but now we feed him the feed from here.
Okay. Is it a show feed?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, good job. How are you this morning? You enjoying this so far? Okay. What's your pig weigh?
233.
Is it a barrow or a gilt?
Barrow.
Okay. What breed do you think predominantly?
Ham.
There you go. What are you feeding?
16% pig food or dry corn and oats.
Okay, good job. You got your pig ready? Yeah. How are you doing this morning?
Good.
Barrow or gilt?
Guilt.
Got a little sunburn, huh?
No, she tried to go under the gate when we were trying to clip her.
Okay.
Stripped her back, and then she got sunburnt, so it didn't make it much better.
It never fails. Always happens right before the fair, doesn't it?
Yeah, something
Okay.
bad has to go wrong.
Okay. What's your pig weigh?
Two times.
Okay. What are you feeding?
18% protein, grow and show swine.
Okay. What breed predominantly?
Yorkshire.
There you go. Okay. Good job. Keep it up. How are you doing this morning?
Good.
You have a barrow or a gilt?
It's a crossbred, pretty sure.
It is. Yep. What's it weigh?
222.
Okay. What are you feeding her?
Some kind of pellets. Same as my brother that just talked to you.
Just say ditto on a feed, huh? Okay. All right. Good job. How are you doing? You have a barrow or a gilt? What breed? Is it York? Okay. What do you feed your barrow?
Supplement.
All right. How are you doing today?
Good.
What do you have, barrow or a gilt?
Guilt.
There you go. What breed do you think she is predominantly?
A Berkshire.
There you go. Not very many of them around here, is there? Okay. What's she weigh?
244.
What are you feeding her?
18% protein, grow and show swine.
Good. Okay. Keep going. Good job. How are you getting along? What does your pig weigh? All right, so we had a really enjoyable set of junior showmen out here. Several levels of knowledge in terms of asking the kids on questions in terms of the generic things. And when we get to bucket calf, I always say, well, I judge them, and you have a project knowledge thing, and I ask questions until we don't know, or until you find one that they don't know, and sometimes you get into the vaccinations. On the pigs and having this many kids out here, I didn't quite get to that level of questions, but I did ask the very generic things in terms of barrels and gilts, predominant breed, what they weigh, what they're feeding them, and we get a variety of answers, even with just 4 what I consider simple questions. And not to pick on him, but one of the best answers was asking the young man here closest to me what he feeds him. He goes, well, I feed him the same thing my brother feeds him, and you just asked him, so, it's the same thing. I was like, well, just say ditto on the feed. So, anyway, those little gems are always make the J a little more enjoyable. So, before the pigs get too hot and or kids get too hot, or parents for that matter, we're going to go through, talk this class, and get on with the market show. But a nice group of juniors to work with. And I would tell your seniors in the barn that are still here to be careful and watch, because this set of juniors are going to be coming and they're going to be giving you all the competition you want. With that being said, the top junior today is going to be the young man in the middle in the dark blue shirt. In terms of that intensity that I was talking about with the seniors, he's got it. And that's what I'm looking for. Keep the pig in the ring, in the middle of the ring, work that pig back and forth. The most important thing is while there's a couple times he probably lost me, he's kept his eyes on me and knows where I'm at all along. So, there again, I was over here at the announcer stand. We were going through the results, and I said, well, I don't know if they're related, but they all go to the same barber. So there's 3 young men out here that are doing a tremendous job, and it's probably not fair to sort them as hard as I am, but that's the nature of the beast, and they're going to see that for years to come. But the reserve is going to be the young man in the middle with the black hooded gilt. Again, he's probably done a nice job of keeping that gilt moving and keeping her in the middle of the ring. I'd sure like to see him, if he can keep his eyes on me just a little more. We'll get it up. Keeping his eye contact just a little greater. Not to be outdone by the third brother that's got the black gilt in the middle. She's just not been quite so cooperative in terms of keeping her off the fence. She's wanting to push on him a little harder, make it a little harder for him to drive, and that's been the main difference. Again, a strong set of showmen all the way top to bottom in terms of blue ribbons, but I do want to give another shout out to the young man with a big York barrel down there in the blue shirt. There again, a pig that's got some size that's going to be a little harder to drive, wanting to ride the fence a little more, but he came out, gave me a really good first impression. Very, very good in terms of answering the questions, and probably knows as much about the project as anything. It's just the pig's not quite as cooperative, probably hasn't been walked quite as much and wanting to ride the fence, but again, nice job to him as well. 7. That hit? 7 head? Put that one in. Look that way. Turn around. Three red, 4 blue. The little girl with the pink shirt. I don't know what. Hogs. In this class, we're ranging in weights from 172 to 210. So in most cases, we would consider these prospect hogs. There's some pigs in here that could really withstand, not so much to withstand the competition, but I can very well see them making it to the State Fair of the Junior Livestock Show in terms of having some attributes and having some quality that would allow them to compete further on down the road at heavier weights. As market goes today, they are not there yet, but they have the makings to get to that point. With that being said, the young man that I'm going to lead the class off with is the one that I pinned just a little bit ago, the ham gilt in the middle. Here's the gilt that comes at me really strong. Really like the product that she's got. She likes the shape of the top that she has. She's really wide based, thick from end to end. A gilt that's put together very nice and could withstand not only a lot of competition, but could go a long ways towards making it down the road to bigger shows. Following type and kind very closely would be the young man in the navy shirt with the predominantly York gilt over here on my left. A gilt that follows type. I like the levelness of her design. I think she's a little more flexible out of her spine, hits the ground a little square and a little longer. Maybe not quite the amount of shape that the Hamp gilt has that beats her, but again, a very nice gilt that has a very youthful look and would get you quite a few more pounds and be competitive on farther down the road. My third place is going to be the Hamp over here, this barrel that the young man in the green plaid shirt has. A barrel that gets just a little more nondescript in his lower ham. Pig that has as much levelness, as much reach, and as much extension as anything in here. Just needs a little bit of a shot of muscle. Fourth place for me is going to be the young lady in the dark blue shirt with a black spotted hog. The same type and kind of the pig that is in third. Actually, this one's going to be, in terms of pounds, going to be a little bit heavier. Just doesn't quite have the bone under him. Have the bone under her, just get a little plainer in her makeup, a little flatter in that shoulder. But again, the biggest pig out here in terms of value and pounds. Really like the stride that it takes. It just needs a shot of power. Then we get into three pigs that I'm going to round out the class with. One's over here on the fence. These are going to be the lighter. These are going to be the lighter weight hogs. There again, we're getting down under the 200-pound mark. Couple pigs that have got a little bit of a structure issue. Some of it's pounds, but we're going to get these as they're getting hot. We're going to get these pigs out of here. A nice class all the way through, but just need more time, need more groceries to get them to the final end product.
Okay, so I have.
Where'd you go from? Where'd you get your guild at? Hold Rickabaugh?
Yeah, Rickabaugh, sorry.
Okay. Thought so. Okay, put your guilt in. Pinner. Pin that guilt. Got one. What's your guilt weigh?
222.
222. Okay. What's your number? What's your number? What's your number? What's your pig number? What's that? Now, maybe I can remember what I actually wrote down. All right. I think the pigs are getting tougher, at least in terms of quality. We're getting tighter in terms of the group, and part of that is because we're adding some more pounds to them, and it just makes those classes a little closer in terms of weight and quality. So in this class, I'm going to work my way from the bottom to the top. I have a couple pigs pinned back there that have struck me about as good as anything. There's 3 pigs in here that are just not quite as got as much shape. They're a little more nondescript. One of them's got a little bit of a structure issue, but young ladies, predominantly black barrel here in the middle is one of those that just needs a shot of more top, needs bigger hip, hits the ground a little wider. Same as the young man here in front of me with the broken belt gilt. Here's a gilt that just needs a shot of muscle, especially right there at her ham loin juncture. I'd like to give her a little more shape to the lower leg in terms of bottom of the ham and prodding her out in her shoulders. And then there's another one in the back there in terms of loosening up that structure, giving her more flexibility off of both ends. But after that, we get into a set of what I consider a blue ribbon hogs, and again, we're going to bring out my top 2 here in the class just a little bit, but the ones that kind of follow in the middle of the ring, I'm going to talk them as we go down. Namely, the black-headed gilt over here that the young man's driving, a gilt that is very similar to the ones that we saw in the lightweight class, very level design, very lean, very crisp turn to that loin edge, hits that ground really wide. A gilt that I'd like to loosen up just a little bit as a market rate type class. I think he said she's weighing 222. She's just almost there in terms of market weight. But again, if you were to show her any further down the road, she's right where you'd want to have her. So my hat's off to him on getting one ready for the fair in terms of soft skin, nice hair, well prepared, well presented, and that's hard to do. Following out the rest of that class, we have the pig from the same pin, same family, the belted gilt over here, a gilt that just doesn't quite have the amount of shape that her pin mates have had. She wants to get underneath herself just a little bit, gets really a little tight in that ham loin juncture, and when she brings those back legs up, she sickles under just a little bit, and sure like to change that about her. If we could bring the other 2 pigs out of the holding pen there. So my reserve today is going to be the Chester gilt. Here's a gilt that probably offers the most length and extension of the class, probably has as much shape and much expression as anything in the class. If we could do anything to this gilt, I'd sure like to redesign her back legs. As soon as I seen this gilt, I kind of recognized where she was from and who she is, and seen at least 2 of her litter mates at different fairs at the 2 other shows that I've judged, and it's like, boy, they are all they're all very similar in terms of makeup, and they all handle that rear hawk the same way. A gilt that I really like, though, in terms of the product that she offers, the length she offers, just sure like to flex her up in that hawk and get a little more flexibility there to get her straight out a little more. The young man's speckled belted gilt there that I'm going to use to win the class, I think that is the power hog of the class. Tremendous amount of bone under this gilt, hits the ground wide. Maybe a little more conventional in her design. I don't see her getting a whole lot bigger, but at the same time, she's big enough to hit that market weight or to be almost ideal. You can't get that much width in one and still offer that kind of flexibility in terms of movement, but that's to be understood in terms of where she hits the ground and how wide that she is in terms of making that length of stride. But she is sound enough to get by today. Gilt that I really like, and we'll see in the grand drive. Congratulations. have a tremendous amount of difference in. Pigs here in the heavyweight class are ranging in weight from 270 to 315, and the 315 is pretty easy to distinguish and pick out, but a pig that carries that weight quite well, even though that I'd say he's probably, generally I'd say that's past the prime in terms of what we're looking for ideal market weight. That particular barrow has the frame, has the muscle, has the shape, and is still fresh enough to be able to carry it, so he's doing good. Again, I'm going to work my way up from the bottom, and we're going to let these pigs go as we talk them. The first one here I'm going to talk about, there's a couple blue butt gilts. Young lady's gilt right here closest to me is a gilt that I'd like to change in terms of structure. Yes, I'd like to give her a little more muscle, but give her a good shot at bone. You can really get that top down, get the hip leveled out to where it takes a longer stride. And I think that's going to change it a lot in terms of that flexibility that pig goes off of. Same thing with the young man's blue butt barrel that's coming to me. Pig that I'd like to hit the ground a little wider, straighten up those front feet. He gets a little bowed open in the front. Needs, again, another shot at bone. Nice big frame, long-sided barrel that's going to be great in terms of carcass. It just needs a little more performance, a little more shot of muscle to compete with the rest of the class today. From there, we have a couple pigs that are getting pretty far along. Even though they don't necessarily have all the size, they are they're at their prime in terms of where they need to be. Young man's barrel on the back there, again, nice project, excellent carcass hog. If I was to take one and put it in the freezer, I'm not too sure he might not be my pick. Got my hand on him. No, there's not a tremendous amount of fat, but at the same time, he's carrying more grease than what most of the contemporaries and the rest of the class are. A nice carcass-oriented pig. Durocs are good that way. It's just that he doesn't have the overall muscle expression to compete with the rest of the hogs. Gives up some of that length and dimension in terms of height, the shoulder, and length of carcass as well. Same thing with the young man as we work our way up with the number 66 barrel here in front of me. Sure like to see a little more ham shape to this pig. Again, more conventionally designed, a little shorter cannon, a little shorter statured, but again, a lot of product in that pig. Then we get into a couple Duroc gilts that are the exact opposite. They have all the length, all the expression, all the length, all the height, and all the size that you want. We just need a little more product in these two gilts to be able to compete with the two that are coming out of the pin over here that I've got pinned for top and bottom. Again, gilts that I really like. You could argue whether or not they're more breeding gilt than they are market hogs, but that would be up to the breeder in terms of breeder preference. They are structurally sound. They are structurally correct. They do have a lot of weight to them in terms of being an ideal weight size for the county fair, and that's a kind of a tough thing to do. We've had a tough year growing pigs this year. We've seen 300-pound pigs and we've seen 200-pound pigs, and I don't know what it was about May. You'd think that nice wet conditions and a little bit of extra mud would make a pig's day, but at our farm, we were behind on weight too, and I've seen that a lot of places. The later the fair gets, the more we can make those pounds up. But just like we saw in the first class, there's a lot of pigs that just had a tough time making weight. And when you put a date on the calendar and saying this is the date that I want this pig to weigh 275 pounds and we're going to feed for that, it just adds a whole new degree of difficulty to the person running the feed bucket. But that's the game that we play, and so that's where we're wanting to be at. So my hat's off to the competition that's here. That's the way I saw them. Now we're going to bring out these next two pigs that are in the pen. My class winner is the young man with the predominantly white York barrow. Again, this is the heaviest hog in the barn, but he carries it well. He's got a tremendous amount of shape when you get behind him, muscle expression all the way forward. At 315 pounds, I'd expect him to start to get a little stale. You start to see that chine come up between his blades, but he's not. He's just as fresh as he could be as when he was probably 50 pounds lighter. Now, if we went through and we clipped that pig up, yes, he's got that dirty kind of hide in terms of speckles. It's hard to make one shine and give him that extra snap, but he doesn't need it. He's got the product. If we take a pair of clippers to him, shorten that hair up, and you're going to see an even fresher appearing barrow. But like I say, when you're weighing 315 pounds and you've got that kind of shape and flexibility, then you've done something right. So my congratulations to him. He's going to win our heavyweight class. The reserve pig in this class is going to be the traditionally marked Hamp gilt. When I first saw this gilt, I was sitting there going, well, yeah, this is a market class, but I'm not too sure that she couldn't go both ways. She could win the breeding class and come back and be reserve in the market class. Here's a gilt that isn't the biggest. She's not the most of any one thing. She's not the tallest. She's not the longest. She's not the thickest. But she is the most complete in all those aspects. She's got the muscle. She's got a nice turn to her top. She's got that depth of rib, depth of the chest. She has an extra springer rib. I'd like to give her a little more flexibility, especially to that right rear hock. I don't know if she stepped off the trailer wrong. I'm not going to fault her for that in terms of, to me, it's not a structural issue. It's just something that happened, and those are hard to prevent. But this pig has probably got the most shape to her hams. She's probably one of the widest base gilts. And there again, you could do a lot of different things in terms of the way to show and exhibit this gilt, but she's going to be my reserve of the heavyweight class today. On this end. We're going to put yours on that end. Put yours on that end. You guys are just going to form a wall here in the middle, and we're going to put her on this end.
Where you want her?
Just down here on this end. You're going to go that way. That's my hand. What's she weigh? It's a lot of pork chops. Class winners at the west end of the arena. I talked them all in class there again. I guess the thing that I'm looking at, or the thing that I'm the most pleased with, is that we have 3 pigs with considerable amount of weight differences. But if you start adding pounds to the 2 lighter belted pigs, you're going to end up with a bigger pig here. They fit that same mold, they fit that same look. The only difference is age and pounds of feed that they've been given. So the 2 pigs that come out of the middleweight class and the heavyweight class are in the driver's seat for me. I look at them, and there again, we can talk product all day when we talk about the heavyweight class winner with this York barrel. He's getting a little hot and he's getting a little cranky in terms of today's show, and I expect that. I mean, he's got a lot of weight to move. I made a comment, there's a lot of pork chops there, and there is. So as a product pig goes, that's him. The belted gilt here, the dirty belted gilt over here, she's fresher appearing. She's got a little better structure on her. She's definitely lower in that chine. I really like the crispness and the turn of the top that she's got. When she gets away from me, she's really hitting the ground wide. A gilt that's very pretty from the profile, fits that mold, fits that type. That's going to be today's grand champion hog. Congratulations. Okay, so that means that we're going to move our reserve over, which is this Chester gilt. And we're going to put her down there with the grands in terms of our class winners. And if there's a gilt that doesn't quite fit the mold in terms of the 5-6 hogs that we have out here, that's probably her. She is the most different. She is complementary to our grand drive, and the fact that she's long, she's lean, she's got a tremendous amount of product working her from her shoulder to her hip. But again, she just doesn't quite fit that mold. Our reserve grand champion today is going to be the young man in the blue shirt with the big barrel. Again, when you take that much product and you put it into a 300-pound package, it's something to say when you can keep one a little bit fresh, keep one moving that well, and not be too far gone in terms of structure and freshness. So my hat's off to the 2 exhibitors there in terms of bringing some nice hogs out. Enjoyed the market shows. We got a gilt in the breeding class to come yet, and a couple open class entries. Thank you. I will.
Which one is
The blue, the ham is cheap. So is she York or
Yeah.
just a white line?
York.
York. How old is she?
I
Don't know.
think about a couple months old.
Okay. Do you raise hogs?
Yeah.
You do
Wait,
have.
no.
You don't raise hogs. So did you put her in a breeding gilt class because you already had market hogs? Pretty much. Otherwise, she'd have been market pig.
Yeah.
So you're really not going to take her home and breed her, though. Okay. All right. I kind of guess that. Sometimes you use them in breeding gilts because they're not big enough, and sometimes it's because you have too many entries the way it is. Okay. All right, so we have a single entry in our breeding division today, and you don't have to go back very many years before we could find a lot of hogs on hog farms all over the western part of Kansas and Kiowa County as well. But anymore, it's an issue of, just like anything else, that you got to be bigger, you got to have more, and you got to increase your efficiency. And pretty soon, the little farms that have 3 or 4 sows have disappeared, and so we breed for show pigs in some cases, but you're going to commercially raise hogs and gilts, then you're looking for some very productive females that could survive in confinement. This gilt's one of those that's kind of hit and miss. Like I said, years ago we could find all sorts of hogs, and now it's kind of hard to find good breeding gilts. But that also means that when we're showing gilts, there's normally a reason. Sometimes it's because they're not quite heavy enough, so we put them in the breeding division, and sometimes it's, well, we've already got 2 or 3 market hogs, I guess we're going to run her as a breeding gilt. And that's kind of where this gilt falls. Young lady said, no, I'm really not looking to raise hogs, but yes, she is a pretty good gilt, so we're going to show her as a breeding gilt, and that's where she falls. So here's a gilt that I really like the front 2/3 of. I'd sure like to change her hip and change her back legs in terms of where she hits the ground, especially right there in her pastern. She gets really straight and wants to flex over. I'd like to make her a little more feminine in her underline. She gets a little blunt there towards the middle and the back part of her underline. But again, a nice gilt that could lay down, have a litter. Looks to me like a white line type gilt that could be real maternal in terms of the number of pigs raised. We'll give this young lady a blue ribbon and a round of applause in terms of bringing a breeding gilt to town and exhibiting a breeding gilt. They don't get to go through the premium auction, so what she gets as an applause is about as big a reward as she gets. So admire her and taking the time and effort to actually show a gilt in a breeding class. A buckle for overall
swine, but you can't really judge them against each other, can you?
Well, so it's
That's what they want to bring him back
okay.
in.
Okay. So, as buckles and sponsorships go, we have an overall award that is bestowed upon what we think best in show is. So best in show is going to be how well the market hog competes in the market division versus the gilt in the breeding division. And this year the buckle is going to go to the young man with the belted gilt. She's going to be stronger in her market division than what the gilt is in the breeding division. The gilt that I really like, we talked to her in class. I really like the muscle expression she has. She's been clipped up and fit. Yeah, I'd like to change how she hits the ground with that right rear leg, but there again, we've got a gilt that's got a lot of trop, a lot of shape, a lot of expression, and weighing 260, so she's about right where she needs to be. So young man spent some time in terms of making sure he gets the pig where it needs to be for the county fair here, so he'll be our overall champion. Oh, I get to... Nice buckle. You want to trade?
Thank you so much.
You bet. Good job. Where did you pick her up at? You said neighbor raising hogs?
Yeah, we usually get our pigs from Nicely the Trash Company,
Okay.
but they quit doing pigs this year. So he sent us to one of his guys he knows, and it's over by, kind of close by Newton.
Okay. Nice skill.
I like her.
Yeah, nice skill. Job.
Thank you.
Bet. $200 and some. You think? Do you get to do chores every morning? What do you feed your pig? Corn. That's pretty easy to do, isn't it? Do you have to feed it every morning? Or do you have a feeder that you dump the feed into?
We have a feeder that's out in the country with a gate.
So it makes chores a little easier. Does that mean you get to sleep in? Okay. Good job. How are you? What's your pig's name? Spot? How'd you come up with that? Oh. Do you know what your pig weighs? Huh? Do you know what his pig weighs? No? Okay. What do you feed him? What do you feed her?
Just water. I don't know.
Okay. But she's having a good time doing it. Is there a specific open class ribbon, or is it just first,
it's
second, and
first,
go on
second.
down?
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Not necessarily going to be champions of anything. It's just
No.
1 and 2 in the open
Yep.
class.
1 and 2. Yep. We got it.
You're going to be first, and you're going to be second. Okay? So in our open class hog show. We're actually considering these to be market hogs. We have 2 young ladies that are having a whale of a time out here driving their pigs around, and that's what makes it more fun and enjoyable. And if you could have heard some of the questions or answers that the young lady with a pink bow said, it'd be even more fun. But Freeman got in on some of that, so anyway, we're trying to get her to come back, but she likes the water in her anyway. So, as class placings go, we're going to start with a speckled butted gilt over here on the wall. A gilt that's got a tremendous amount of muscle and shape, tremendous from the rear in terms of how much width there is and base width that she has. Actually, it's a gilt that could go market or breeding in a lot of ways in terms of the femininity of underline, sharpness, femininity fronted, long-bodied gilt. Maybe a little peggy in terms of moving off those back ends, but once we get her to stride out, then she moves out. She just wants to pull that right hock in a little bit. But again, a very nice gilt that has tremendous amount of future in terms of whether she goes market or breeding. And if she goes market the way we're looking at them today, she's going to have a tremendous carcass to hang. Young lady's barrel, not to be outdone, probably just a notch bigger, a little longer design. Barrel that's got pushed a little more fat there in his jowl and filling up a little fuller in his lower 1/3. Still a very nice project barrel for the young lady, easy to drive for her, and she's enjoying showing him, but we just like to make him a little fresher and a little cleaner and trim him up a little bit to compete with our class winner today. First, they told me a first and a second, and the first goes over here and the second goes over there. Thank you. What's your pig's name? Not necessarily your pig. You just get to show it, huh? Do you need a pig of your own?
Yeah, I live
In Lions, okay.
Yeah, I don't really know what types they are.
Okay, that's fine. You just keep working at it. Good job. What's your pig's name? Well, I didn't want to scare you. So is this one yours? What's his name? You don't know? Wilbur?
First of all, running, not my skill set today.
I understand.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Sure. Well, I'm not having a lot of luck getting the kids to talk to me in this one, but they're having fun driving these pigs at any rate. So it looks like the swine part of the Kiowa County Fair is in safe hands and going to have plenty of numbers and plenty of kids going forward, and that's what makes it more enjoyable, especially when you have a bright future and young kids that are getting into the projects and wanting to stay with it and having fun doing it. So with that, we're going to just give out a bunch of ribbons for participation to these little kids. Again, thank you to Mindy for having me out to judge the hogs. I enjoy working with kids. We're going to have 3 fairs in 3 weeks here coming up, and looks like this first one's going to get pretty hot towards the end of this week. But that's what it's all about, is using the and I said it last year, the livestock's just a tool that we use to raise the kids, and that's what's evident in this project here with these little kids coming out and doing this today. So hats off to the help. Thank you to the ringmen for their help today in terms of sorting through. I know we made a quick work of 3 classes of hogs and a couple gilts. So with that, we'll let these kids go back to the barn, and we'll move on with the rest of the fair. Again, thank you. Congratulations to our kids. Thank you to the help.